Hey, this is my third video in my series on favorite apps I've discovered where you can improve your musicianship while twiddling your thumbs. This time I'm talking about actual games. Turns out there aren't really that many, not for Android at least. The first item in my list was fretboard learning tools. The next two list items, which were in the second video, were ear training tools and clef recognition quizzing. And for all the above, part of the appeal is that these are kind of gamified, at least a little bit, but they're not games in the proper sense. In this video, I'm talking about a couple of one-of-a-kind actual games that I've discovered where you can build your ear training skills while playing something that looks like a game, feels like a game, games like a game, except it will improve your ear training skills if you stick with it, let's say 10 to 20 minutes a day over the long haul. I'd really like to see more games like this, but at this point, I'm only aware of these two that exist for Android. First one is called Chord X. No idea what the title means, but it's a great fun to play. It's set up so that you start with an easy challenge. The more you win, the more they increase the difficulty. So it has a very pleasantly addictive, almost arcade quality to it. Keep you interested, keep you from being overly challenged or under-challenged. The educational goal of the game is to improve your intuitive ability to recognize basic chord progressions. So the way it works, the game will play you a 1-4-5 cadence, and then it'll play another chord. And you have to guess what that chord is based on the options that you have available at that point, based on your skill level. So they start you off with a small palette of possible chords to pick from. The better you get, the larger your selection. So it's very intuitive and fun. And the point of it from an educational standpoint is that the better you get at playing chord X, the better you'll get at picking up your acoustic guitar and guesstimating what chords would be appropriate for a given song that you've heard on the radio, let's say, intuiting the chord progressions by ear. Now, I would say it definitely does help if you go into it beforehand, having some basic music theory ideas in your head before you begin. For example, knowing that the 5 chord and the minor 2 chords both tend to be pre-tonic, which means that they are chords that will feel good if they resolve into the 1 chord. So if you hear this chord, that sounds like the next chorus should be the 1 chord. Well, that may well be a 5, or it may be a minor 2. Another little tidbit, just knowing that the 2, 3, and 6 chords are minor, the 7 chord is diminished if the 1 chord is major, and then it's flipped if the 1 chord is minor. Another thing, just the simple fact that the 4 chord is predominant, meaning it feels good for it to resolve into the 5, that kind of thing. So it helps to have some of these music theory concepts in your head to help you hook onto a given chord and have an idea what might feel best for it, just so that you don't feel completely lost at sea as you try to intuit what chord you're hearing and how it relates to other chords and how it might relate to, certain chord progressions. That said, Chord X, in my book, gets 5 stars for being the only truly gamified, truly skill-building chord game that I'm aware of right now, at least, where you can play just for fun and be better next time you pick up your guitar. Next up is another rare gem that I discovered around the same time. This was also an extremely pleasant surprise to find in the App Store, another one-of-a-kind gem that I've never seen anything similar to. It's called Melodia, and it's basically a pleasant, colorful, random melody transcription game. Okay, so that makes it sound boring, doesn't it? How about this? It's a tune-finding game. Okay, so that sounds boring too. Well, maybe this is just one of those games you have to be a music nerd to appreciate. But it is a true game. So basically, this game gives you a bunch of notes that belong to a scale, and then it plays you a succession of tones from that collection. And if you play back the correct notes, you win. If you don't, you die. What makes this so cool is it's exactly the skill you need to build if you want to learn how to play songs by ear on the piano, play melodies by ear. The difference between this and trying to play melodies by ear on the piano is that you're not sitting at your piano working hard and possibly getting annoyed when things are difficult. Instead, you're chilling like a zombie, eating Cheez-Its and old pizza. Well, if you like Cheez-Its, anyway. I did find that once I played this game a lot, it did get a little annoying how long the random melodies would get, in the sense that it would kind of turn into a bit of a game of memory, trying to recall every one of them. So that did make it a little on the annoying side, but the game still gets points for uniqueness and fun factor, especially at the earlier levels. And in terms of testing your memory like that, that's a good skill to have. To have a memory that is a little more has a little more range, so you can remember longer connections. Problem is, these are random melodies; they're not real melodies. So, that's another thing too. This game also gets points in my book for the gentle learning curve, in that they don't instantly quiz you on the whole major scale, which would be very difficult if you don't come in with really advanced ear training skills already. Instead, they start you off with just a couple of available notes and then gradually expand your palette until you're at more of a, standard, whether it's a major scale, pentatonic, or whatever. So these are two apps that are really cool and definitely have to be on a list for anyone who's into casual educational music gaming. Next up in this series, I'll talk about some other categories. I'll talk about the value of using sheet music apps while away from your instrument to get some extra mental practice and how that's useful. And then after that, maybe in the same video, I'll talk about the usefulness of virtual instrument apps, such as virtual pianos and virtual guitar fretboards, and how those can be useful as well to improve away from your instrument.